of time. So agenda today is just to do a little review of how email marketing works within StayFi, what pre-built templates we have ready for you to use, and then I'll talk about how to build custom newsletters and more advanced automations in the email tool. So really go more into multi-step automations and how that can be very helpful in making sure you are consistently marketing to your guests, which is by far and away the key to having success with email marketing is consistency, and I'll show you how to do that in the product. Also, if you were not aware, we've also launched a email marketing service within StayFi. So if you watch this today or just in general, you say, hey, this is great, but I don't have time for this. I'd rather hire somebody to do this. We do offer that as a service for $200 a month within StayFi. We will send 2 emails for you a month, as well as set up all of your automations. So if you want more help with email marketing and want to hire us as basically your email marketing agency, that's also now an option. So feel free to email support@stayfi.com if that's something you're interested in. Now, just to give a little overview of email marketing in StayFi, as you probably know, uh, go to the email marketing template here. If your screen does not look like this, it means you have not yet set up your email marketing account. So before you can send any emails in StayFi, you have to have a domain. So you do need to own a domain to send emails from. So you need to own a .com, .co, whatever it is. And then there is a process before you can start sending emails where basically our email system verifies that you own that domain, and that way we can send emails from that domain that don't get sent into spam and have high deliverability rates. So if you haven't done that, make sure you do that. And if you need any help with that, as I know sometimes setting up these DNS records is what it's called, can be complicated. And depending on whether you use GoDaddy or another service, it can be a little confusing. If you have issues setting up your domain for sending, please email support@stayfi.com. Also, if you upload a lot of emails, you may basically our system may throw up a like approval process because we want to verify that you collected those emails in a compliant way. So if you do upload a lot of emails and you have no sending history, you may need to go through an extra compliance check before you can start sending. Basically, in the StayFi email marketing section, we have these pre-built, I would call these like the basic automations and newsletters that you can send, and I'll be building on how to send more advanced ones. So up above, we have the automations. I would recommend at a minimum that you complete all 3 of these if you are setting up your own email marketing. So I would want all of these marked as complete through this process. And then these are down here are great starting places for sending one-off emails. Once your list gets above 400 to 500 contacts, my kind of advice would be to send at least 1 newsletter a month, maybe 2 if you want to be more aggressive, and set up all your automations. That would be my baseline advice for anybody getting started with email marketing. The reason is if your list does not hear from you consistently, they are going to forget who you are, and there's higher likelihood they won't engage with future emails. And also, we just need to deal in the reality is that most people are not booking a vacation at any specific moment in time. So you need to make sure that your past guests maintain a certain level of brand awareness, because the key thing that we want to trigger is that when that person is thinking about planning their next trip to hopefully your location where you operate, they remember your brand, and that booking direct has certain benefits, right? So being consistently in their inbox is the best way to ensure it's kind of like a billboard that when they do want to book, they remember who you are and contact you. If you don't email guests for 6 months or 8 months or 9 months, you would imagine that they probably might forget that there are benefits to book direct, and they might just go back to Airbnb or Vrbo to book your place again and miss out potentially on saving money. In the automations, there are 3 types. Now, what I would recommend is that you start with these 3 automations, and then I will show you how to then edit these automations to add additional emails. And the most important ones to add additional emails to are either post departure or Wi-Fi welcome. You can pick which one. I'll be doing it on Wi-Fi welcome, but because I have that set up already, but you can do it in post departure as well. The Wi-Fi welcome is pretty self-explanatory. We want to introduce your brand to every single guest when they come to the property. So I've already built it in this particular setup, but down here you can start the process to build this email. And in this email, you have the ability to share a lot of different information with your guests when they are coming into the property for the first time. So we kind of pre-built this email so you can share your guidebook, your homepage, any other information they need. And you have to remember when you're writing this email, this is the first time most of your guests will have heard from your brand. Prior to this moment, right, you've been communicating with the Airbnb booker or the Vrbo booker or the direct booker, not with the other people staying at the property. So it's just really important to remember that when you send this Wi-Fi welcome email, just remember that you are communicating with many people in this reservation for the first time, and you want to introduce yourself, your brand, provide helpful information for their stay. And then, of course, if you would like, provide some sort of incentive to book directly again with you in the future. And you can add even a coupon code within this email. Post departure, again, super important email. We want to make sure that right after all of your guests leaves, you hit them up again with that loyalty why rebook directly message. This is super important. And both of these emails have some of the highest open and click-through rates of all of the emails that StayFi customers set up because you're sending them at like a natural point in the guest process where they're more likely to engage with email. So you can see when someone set up this post departure email, they're getting 8% click rate. Like average click rate with emails is 1 to 2%. So we're doing 4 to 8 times better than a normal hospitality email. And then stay anniversary is the last email that you can set up in this automated like pre-built process. This one again, you can adjust the timing, and I'll show you how to do that so that you're sending this at the right time to remind guests about why they should book again if they're planning on traveling to your destination again for the following year. Just because so much vacation rental bookings are kind of yearly behavior amongst families or friends where they're going back to the same vacation rental destination, whether it's a ski destination, a beach destination, right? A lot of these are kind of annual trip destinations for individuals. So we want to make sure we are hitting them up at the right time for them to naturally want to come back and book with you again. On the newsletter side, we do have 3 types of newsletters. I will show you quickly this particular one, which is the upcoming availability, as I think this is one of the most powerful types of newsletters. And if I were to pick any of these that if I were wanting to drive more bookings in a pretty narrow window of time. Like if I knew I have availability coming up and I'm trying to get more bookings and I want to try to drive them from my direct email list, this is where I would gravitate to if you're looking to do that. And the reason is we can basically look in your property management software calendar and pick up to 4 properties in the window where you're looking for bookings. And those could be last minute bookings or bookings further out. But let's just theoretically say I know instinctually that next weekend, the 13th, I have some availability and I would really like some last minute bookings to fill these weekend slots at my properties. Maybe I had a cancellation that I'm aware of, right? You obviously know your calendar and your business better than I do, but if there's some sort of rationale about why you would want to push bookings in a certain window, this can be super helpful. So you can see here, when I put in a window, it's going to tell me which properties I have available for those dates. And let's say I want to feature these 4. It will automatically place these properties in my email along with photos and prices. And then within here, if let's say we don't like the photo we picked, because we just take your number 1 photo from your software, you can, of course, upload new photos here. You can add any extra information down here. I would also always check that these links are correct. So we're going to try to pull the right information to how to link to each property. I would just make sure that these are the right links for these specific properties. And then, of course, you can include some type of promo code or offer. When you add promo codes here, make sure that you also add them to your software. We don't have an integration with softwares where we like create promo codes, and not every software can do a promo code, but if yours can, I would make sure that you add a code here as well. This is also a great way to do attribution because you will know if someone uses this code that they came as a result of this email. So the ROI will be pretty quickly easy to relate. So if I were sending 2 emails a month, I would honestly pick one to be some sort of availability based email, and the other I would do some more standard newsletter content around an event, a reason to come back to my destination. Activities, I'd say, are like some of the top performing emails that people are sending out, like whitewater rafting in X destination in Colorado, last week of skiing, or we're getting snow in this place, or we have XYZ festival, music festival, event, carnival, parade, whatever it is in your destination. Newsletters are great for those kind of great reasons or great activities to come to your destination. Or maybe you've launched a new property and you want to feature that as well. And that's also very helpful to demonstrate you're doing homeowner marketing, right, to your owners. So if I were to pick two emails in a month, I would do something availability based that's very much tied to conversions. And then I would do something that's a little more brand building oriented or giving people reasons or content around why to come to my destination. And I would not shy away from using OpenAI or Claude to help you generate, what are the 20 events happening where I operate to feature them in emails. So you can see here are some of the type of upcoming availability and promo campaigns that people have had a lot of success with. Upcoming availability case, here is one where I believe they had a cancellation and they wanted to get that particular nights filled again. So they sent this email, they did a very aggressive discount, and they did get a response to get this booked. And you can see it had very high open rate and engagement. On the other side, a more general promo code campaign, again, if you really have no idea what to send, like you can always send a discount, although it's definitely not my top recommendation. I would also think about, what are exciting reasons, activities, events to come to my destination, and what is the right cadence or amount of time in advance that I would want to feature that. So that really depends on the event. If it's a huge music festival, Coachella, if it's like Mardi Gras in New Orleans, obviously you want to send those very far in advance because those are trips people tend to book much further out and you probably are going to be at full capacity anyways, and you want to get those direct bookings further in advance. If it's something for more niche, less well known with your audience, and of course you can send that much closer to the actual event date. Now we're going to switch over to custom emails because this is kind of like taking those base emails that you can create in StayFi and take them to the next level. And so one of the best ways to do that is to extend the automation campaigns that we have set up in StayFi. So what you can do is once you set up your Wi-Fi welcome, post departure, stay anniversary, you can add additional emails to those specific chains, and I'll show you how to do that. So here's just an example of, okay, Wi-Fi welcome. I'm going to send that upon sign in. Then I'm going to send an email on day 2 and then on day 4. And then for post departure, I'm going to send that email. And then 7 days later, I'm going to send another email. And then 30 days later, I'm going to send another email. You can see here, stay anniversary is the same. Like I'm going to make that into a series of 3 emails. The great thing about doing this is then you are less dependent on sending one-off newsletters. So like the more automations we build out, the less we have to depend on one-off newsletters. So if you're more time constrained, I would definitely lean on more automations because essentially this means all of your guests and your audience will be receiving emails all the time without you having to make new content. The downside of that obviously is in these emails, you can't feature things that are time-based or specific homes that are available because you don't know, you don't have any control over when these are sent, right? They're just sent on an automated schedule. So since I showed that, I'm going to just show very quickly how to then edit automations. So once you create the 3 automations, they're all going to appear here in the automation section. So you're going to have a Wi-Fi welcome, a post departure, and an anniversary email if you set up all 3. This account doesn't have all of those set up yet, but just imagine that it does. They would all be here. So let's say I want to add another email to one of these steps. So let me just delete these steps so we can start from scratch. So obviously this is kind of how the trigger works. So you're gonna have to pause the automation when you make edits, but essentially we have the trigger. So that's this thing here. Subscriber joins StayFi Wi-Fi guests. So that's the trigger for the Wi-Fi welcome. Someone logs into the Wi-Fi, and then we have that first email, and this will already be set up when you go in through the setup process through the main screen here. Then you can hit this plus button below, and then you can add additional steps. I would just, for right now, if you want to make this easy for yourself, I would not do conditional steps. That can make your life more complicated because then when you want to add more steps, you have to add them to both conditions. So I would just start with a simple delay. Now, maybe you want to send another email like 24 hours into the stay. I think that, the next day. So basically, you set up this waiting period here, save that. You can see here, you can change this to minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, totally up to you. And then we're going to add another step, and it's going to be an email step. Now, again, you can pick, the step can have a name, so it can be 24 hours post check-in. You can decide the subject here, you know, things to do in the area. I'm not being that creative. You can always add these personalizations from here. So this will like add a first name field. Generally, personalizations are always going to increase like the open rate typically in like subject lines. So that might be nice, like Arthur, things to do in the area from the email. Now, I there's two kind of like personas that typically people are sending emails from. You can either send it from your brand, so that could be, info@stayfi.com, or it can be from a person and you're writing like in the first person. So the email is like positioned from me. So you could write it from arthur@stayfi.com or your name at yourbrand.com. The nice thing about writing emails from like the first person is that often people will like reply to them and you just want to make sure they're going to an inbox that somebody's monitoring because they may ask you to want to book your property again in the future, right? So you can decide like what voice you want to write it from. And then down below, you can add content. Now, the thing is right here, we have like different options. One is recent emails. And then down below, you can just like pick from one of these designs. The nice thing about the recent emails is if you have been designing emails or newsletters, you can like take one of those and reuse them for this purpose. So I can take one of these and then use this as my basis for this new email. Um, so this is like this is not a great example because this is one of the last minute availability emails, but just to give you an idea, once it's in here, then you have total ability to then like further edit it by adding more images. And this drag and drop builder is like very straightforward to use. So you can, just build different pieces here. And then if you need to add new sections, you can make them double column, single columns, or like these kind of offset columns. So very simple to like adjust and change these emails. You can always send a test to yourself. And then the nice thing about the preview and continue is we will show you the email both on desktop size and mobile size. So I would always make sure you scroll on the mobile size because sometimes when you're making adjustments on the desktop side, you don't realize how that might show up in mobile. So definitely take a scroll through here because more than half of your emails typically are going to be opened on mobile. So you really want to make sure the mobile side makes sense. Then when you save and return to your journey, you can see here, wait 24 hours, have another email. If I had to like pick any of these to go and like add many steps to, it would be post departure because that's kind of like after they leave the property, then you can send an email 7 days, 30 days, 60 days saying, here's a great reason to return to X destination. And you just need to make sure the content is evergreen, obviously, because it could be sent all times of the year. And then once you're done here, you just hit journey on and you're good to go. The other nice thing, if you haven't checked, is that all of these journeys also have reports. So you can look and see in this report, sends, opens, clicks for each step of the journey. So all of that data is available here. So you can see how those journeys are performing. And then of course you can also create the templates prior to that step. But I enjoy building the templates like in the process of creating the automations just because I find it like very logical and straightforward to kind of do everything in those steps. Now when it comes to monthly newsletters, very similar process of you can send promotions, property spotlights, destination guides, seasonal rebooking reviews, and then you can use like a bunch of dynamic fields in those emails. So let me show you a little bit more about like all the things you can do in the custom template builder that I think are interesting. So again, um, when you're so I would start again, like creating a campaign. The other thing some people want to know about is more segmentation. So I guess I will just cover that first because sometimes people ask us like, I want to send an email to only people that have stayed in this home, or I want to send an email to only this subset. So I think we should just cover that very quickly. Um, in your listen subscribers, we put data from different sources into different lists. So we have, let's say, Wi-Fi guests, people we collect via pre-arrival, people we collect from your PMS. They're all in different lists. Typically, the Wi-Fi guest list is going to have the most data. So I would go here first. So if I want to send an email to people that stay in a specific property or home, the thing to know is that we basically, in this, if you click custom fields here, this is all the data that we associate with every single guest that we can in your list. And you can use all of these fields to do segmentation as well as merge fields. So merge fields are like inserting specific content that changes based on who the email is sent to. So down below, the key thing to know is like we will include the property the guest was in and the property group, as well as the date they signed in, the birth date if they collect it, the phone number if you collect it. If it's set up properly in StayFi, we will even associate the URL of the listing they were in, as well as the guidebook of that listing, the homepage of that listing, the link to book Viator tours for that listing from your homepage, the Hostco link from your homepage, the language of the guest. So we get that asked too. Like the language will be like the language default on their phone. So like on your iPhone, you know how you pick a language. I know we get this question from people in Quebec very commonly, where they have people that they want it in French and a lot of people that want the content in English. Here you will see like, oh, is their device set to English or French? So you can actually split your list in two that way if you're dealing with two different language groups that are commonly in your property. And then there's some other information down here as well. So basically, these are the custom fields that are going to be included automatically. In the segment section here, this is where you can create a new segment. So if you want to target people that only stayed in a specific home, you use custom fields, select property here, and then you need to do match exactly, and then you need to use the property name in StayFi for the Wi-Fi. So that would be whatever these property names are here. Just want to make sure these are matching these names exactly. Also, if you have different groups of homes in different markets and you want to segment that way, that's why you want to make sure you're using this property group field up here. And you would want to create other property groups. So if you had California and Texas, you want to make sure you have California property group and Texas property group, and then you can segment your Wi-Fi list based on that data so that you can market to those people separately. Then when you go through the actual email creation process under campaigns, you'll be able to select which segments or multiple segments you want to market to. So in the campaign section here, I will start the process of creating a custom campaign, so not the pre-built campaign. I will add the subject line, the preview line. So if you go to Gmail, you'll notice that there's like a subject and then there's like text to the right of it. You can like make that text very clear here. Then you want to again pick the sender name, and this is where it's important to the to section. This is where you're going to see. I don't really love how this is displayed, but this is how it's done in the software. You're going to see both each list. So if we want to do Wi-Fi, pre-arrival, PMS, that would be, and website, that would be like all the data I have. But under each of like, let's say Wi-Fi guests, if you're segmenting this by homes, you will see all of the segments underneath. So you can like pick, I just want to do this one segment. Also, very interestingly, if like you have like one home and you don't want to market to those people, but you want to market to everybody else, you can actually like exclude segments. So if there's like one outlier property that you don't want to include, you can like, exclude those people and market to everybody else. So it's very flexible in terms of like, I want to do multiple lists, no lists, etc. So let's say if I'm only doing this home, I would only select this list, and then the design email. I always like doing reuse past email because all of the emails that you create using our like builder will be here. Then you can go on and edit to your liking. And then I'll show you in the builder the custom field stuff. Now, the reason why I like to just start from here is that like the custom fields are going to depend on the list you're targeting. So when I go in here and go to insert and go to custom fields, StayFi Wi-Fi guests, I will see all of those fields that we associated with those guests. And if I want to, let's say I'm marketing to my Wi-Fi email list and I want a button that says like book the home you stayed in last time, like I could use the direct booking link associated with that guest because it's going to point back to the home they stayed with last. So you can use all of those personalized fields to basically use any of those data points that we associated with those people when we collected them through the Wi-Fi. So all of this different information down below. And of course, you can also use those fields in buttons too. So if you grab that link, then you can paste it into the button as well, and then it will link to that place that you would like to send them. So yeah, so you can use all of those custom fields. Also, feel free to play around with the AI writer if you need help writing copy, because it will help you do that as well. Or if you just want to check spelling, grammar, if you think it's too verbose, you can change all that stuff below. And then the last type of email that I want to cover is a plain text email. I think this is the most commonly overlooked style of email that can be the most effective, and I'll talk about why that is. So, let me go back to creating a campaign so you can see which template I would pick for this. Let me just select a list. So instead of sending like a templated email with photos, etc., I want to send an email that is sent from me. And I want to write it in the first person in plain text. And the reason why this type of email can be so successful is that most of your recipients use Gmail, and most people's Gmail is set up with a main inbox and then like a promotions inbox, and then maybe some other inboxes too. And if you use Gmail, I'm sure you're familiar with this, like a personal Gmail account. The issue is when I send an email with promotional language or photos, it typically is automatically put into the promotions inbox by Gmail, and emails in the promotion inbox have generally lower open rates than those in the primary inbox. And so when I send a plain text email that appears as if I have just written it spontaneously to this past guest, that is much more likely to be open and responded to by this individual. So the first thing is actually to make sure that you send the from to an email that's going to be monitored. And so if it's not going to be you that are sending it or you that are responding, you can also have a different email for reply. So I can send it from me, like I can write it as Arthur because I'm going to send it as Arthur to this group of people, but like I want my sales team to deal with the response. So you can actually then have a different reply to email. So when someone responds, which I'm going to elicit for in the email, it's going to get responded by a larger group of people that are monitoring this inbox. You just want to make sure that that's set up properly first. So from yourself or from this persona that you're writing from, and then two replies to an inbox that will be monitored. And then design, I want to select plain text email. And the thing here is you want to basically write this email as if um you are writing like an email like, hi, I'm so and so. I manage the XYZ cabin or rental company. I hope you had a great stay, blah, 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 blah. If you ever want a better rate, come back or write to me here or use this link. And I definitely would use the dynamic content. So you want to, uh, so you just want to use like first name and all of those fields in here because you want to make sure that this content is filled appropriately. Oh, actually, no, with this one here, first name. So hi, first name, and then you can, I manage the happy cabin, and I'm so happy you stayed with us. If you ever want to stay with us again, for less than what you paid on Airbnb, you can just reply here or go to this link, right? It can be anything like that. But writing from this first person perspective and also sending it as a plain text, I guarantee you will see much higher open rates and response rates than any of the templated newsletters. And that's just because of how Gmail works and how people behaviorally are going to respond to this. You can also write it, I manage this company. I know you stayed with us within the last year. I want to let you know that if you book directly, you can save money and you just need to reply here. So that is definitely possible. Um, I did just see a great email about segmentation for anniversary emails. So people that have booked future stays. And yes, this is possible. Um, I would not say not super easy because you're gonna have to build the automation yourself, but it is definitely possible. So one thing I will, and it may not work perfectly because we don't know all of the data, but I'll just explain like how the PMS guest list works, and hopefully, Megan, this will answer your question. So the question is, how do I exclude people that already have a booking from emails? Say that's generally what you want to do here. So the PMS guest list here is we will import all bookings from your PMS and the dates those bookings are going to take place. And if they are associated with real emails, we will import those emails. And so this is not perfect because if somebody booked on Airbnb, we may not realize that they're connected to this email. It's not going to be perfect, but you can basically create a segment where you exclude people with future bookings. And the key thing here is we do have a custom field, which is next booking date. Um, Next booking reservation date. And then what happens here is basically we import data from your PMS for each guest record. Um, Once that date of their booking is passed, we then move these fields from next booking to last booking. And then if they create a new booking, it will be in the next booking field. So you will want to make a segment of every single person whose next booking reservation date is in the future, which you can do here under segments. Uh, so you would pick like today. So I'm sending this email today. So I'm going to pick today. Um, and then this will generate the list. And then you can basically include this list, as I showed when you create a campaign, as an exclusion. It's going to be harder to do on an anniversary. This is going to be much harder to do on an automation than on a one-off email. The issue with the automation is that like you're gonna have to change the automation rules, and I do not believe the next departure date can be like dynamically changing all the time. So that's gonna be a little more challenging, may not be totally possible. But if you are sending offers or discount codes and you do not want guests that are already booked to like come back and ask for those on their existing reservations, that's kind of more commonly what we get asked. That's the way how you can create that segment, exclude people with a future booking, and then those people are not going to retroactively try to get new promotions applied to their existing campaigns. I know that wasn't a perfect answer to what you want to do, Megan, but hopefully helpful in some way. Um, awesome. Uh, Now just a few final tips, if you're kind of curious what to be sending to your guests. Um, I think all good email marketing begins with like understanding who your audience is and what they want to do in your destination. And that's how you're going to get consistently the highest engagement rate. So these are just some questions that I would perhaps ponder. So, why are people coming to your destination? Is it activities, atmosphere, relaxation, culture, location, weather? And making sure that you are hitting up those key points in your marketing to make sure you're kind of hitting the main reasons people want to kind of travel. And then also think about like what is unique about your rental or what is unique about what you can offer your guests. I think this is particularly important in more competitive markets. I've seen great emails about concierge services, add-ons, help booking activities, all those kind of things where you can kind of differentiate yourself from the quote unquote standard Airbnb with some sort of hospitality offering that goes above and beyond what is normal and also gives that guests the reason to book direct versus going through an OTA. Again, storytelling in emails. I think that is something we see our best performing customers do. So really integrating activities into the kind of story or reason to come back to your destination. We did, I think a few weeks ago, we did a wonderful webinar with Viator, which is our activities partner that people use on their homepages. And they had a lot of fantastic data that activity-based travel is kind of like what is the most like prominent aspect for many travelers' stays, and it's actually like kind of what they remember most about their trips. So including great kind of activities as the rationale to travel and things that you recommend in your area that guests may not be aware of is some of the best type of storytelling emails that you can send on your emails. Um, Someone asked questions about adding music to emails. You cannot there's no real way to add like sound. You can't really add video or music to emails in general. Even when you add like, I know in the email builder, there's like a video section that's always just gonna like link out to YouTube or Vimeo, right? So in like emails are pretty like old fashioned if we just think about the internet and like what are capable within emails. So there's not like a lot of ways to add like dynamic or interesting content in emails. Like you can do images that change when you roll over them, but it's like still very basic HTML. And also you have to remember like the more stuff you try to put in emails, like photos, basically the more kind of making them look spammier in a way is going to just drive them into the spam inbox or have people mark them as spam more often. So emails definitely we want to kind of lean more towards simplicity, and we want to make sure that we like are sending high quality content that people are not marking as spam. Um, and then someone asks about storytelling emails versus a blog on your website. I always think it's great to, if we look at some of these examples, like activities. Um, you definitely can't tell the whole story in an email. And that's something important to remember, especially if you think about it like on your phone or on your computer. When you open an email, they often get cut off. Or like, if you scroll down to the bottom, Gmail's like, do you want us to reveal more? Like in emails, you really only have so much real estate and you really need the most important things to be above the fold, like when someone opens the email. So often, if you are writing blog content, and you do want to feature certain types of activities, I often would think about how do I pair what I'm doing in my blog would then naturally connect that to what I'm doing in an email. So if you write a blog about 7 things to do in my destination this summer, you want to reference that in your email, talk about the highlights, but then you want to link to the blog post for that more comprehensive explanation that's more SEO oriented, right? So emails, we have to remember most are open on mobile. If you go to the mobile viewer and you just see like a block of text, not going to be as successful, right? So email, we want to be very sparing in the amount of text we use. Even this like, did you know, custom 4x4 adventure vans you see here, I feel like this is too much text for an email, to be perfectly honest. So we want to like kind of minimize the text in emails and make sure that if we are doing images, that it's like very visually led. The other email I want to point out here on the left is this like 20% off winter stays. I always like to use this email that progress is more important than perfection. Like as a designer, you might look at this email and say like, this is not the most beautiful email I've ever seen. The visuals are not like how I would do visuals, but this email was very successful. And I'll say kind of 2 reasons why. One is it's very authentically a owner operator running this vacation rental. It's not a sophisticated property management company with a large marketing budget. And that can really resonate with guests because they're looking for that type of experience because they're going to get more of a boutique hospitality experience when you're just working with a single owner operator that really cares and you see the care into the property. And so I know some folks who might design this email and think like, oh, I don't want to send this because it's not like as beautiful as I would want. This works and it's also very authentic to the brand. So if you design an email and you find like certain things about it, the design maybe isn't as like sleek as you want, don't let that hold you back because this actually worked and they did get bookings using this code, using entering code SKI. Email in the middle here, I really highlighted this because we're kind of going above and beyond what an quote unquote Airbnb host would do. So they have a partner and they have these cars where you can rent these different types of vans, etc., that you might need in this destination for ski trips. Again, super impactful. And even if somebody doesn't use this, the fact that they know that you do this is giving your brand a little more of that luxury aura. And then on the right here, this is a really good chance to highlight like a really cool activity for this destination that might be like a bucket list item, which is of course arriving by seaplane, something I have never been on a seaplane. I think that would be pretty awesome. So just thinking about how can I feature certain activities or things that are cool about my destination that are really going to stand out for guests. Um, yes, and now we have plenty of time for questions. Megan asked about uh, having us help you guys send emails on your behalf. I would email, um, let me just write this out for you. Uh, sorry, just let me type an answer to you. So Autumn, who is our customer success manager, is running this program. So I put her email in here. It's autumn.marks@stayfi.com. Yeah, she can definitely get you more information about how that whole process works. We just started that and have our first few folks going through the process. So, generally we will send two emails for you, and then we give you the ability to kind of like give us feedback on those emails. We try to basically decide with you in advance, like this is what the calendar is going to look like for the next 12 months, including, like these are the different activities that we want to highlight, etc. So we kind of get your buy-in for the content, and then we're going to execute against it, and then we're going to give you a chance to respond if you want to make any specific changes or change, like let's say the homes that we're highlighting. The thing is though, it's it's kind of like if you do not respond, we are going to send the email because I think like the main purpose of that service is that if you're too busy to do email marketing, like we're going to get your buy-in to send it and then we're going to send it because consistency is the most important thing. So it's very much attuned to you can be assured that we're going to be sending out the content basically no matter what. And we'll give you the chance to edit it or respond, but it's going to happen because we want to make sure you're being consistent with sending email. And I just know from experience that sometimes people get distracted and we just want to be doing the work on your behalf behind the scenes. Um, Last thing, which I forgot to cover, which I will just mention really briefly, is I also want to make sure that everybody here is getting the maximum number of emails possible to send marketing to. So you do want to check in your email marketing account that all of your sources are connected. If you don't have pre-arrival set up, I also recommend you set up pre-arrival data collection, where basically we're soliciting emails through forms that we send in advance to your guests through your property management software. I can guarantee you that if you have Wi-Fi and pre-arrival set up for a property, you will net more emails than if you only have one. Wi-Fi will collect way more, but having both, you will net more emails. Also, pre-arrival is a great solution if you do have properties where you cannot set up the Wi-Fi tool. So like condo complexes that have shared Wi-Fi networks, etc. And then of course, if you have outside data that you want to add, I would recommend importing a list. I also recommend importing homeowners into your marketing because I think it's great for your owners to see if you are a property manager, the data that you are, or the marketing that you are sending out on their behalf to drive direct bookings above and beyond just what's in OTAs. And then it's a little hidden here, but there is a way to add forms to your website. So I would create a new list called website signups. And then under website signups, you can create a sign up form through the sign up form builder. So these forms can either be like placed on your page, or I really love pop-ups. So you basically design your pop-up here. It will give you this code. Then you will email your PMS or your website builder to insert this code into the header of your website, and then you will get an email pop-up on your website where you can collect more emails that way as well. Megan asked one more question about PMS connected to pre-arrival. Okay, so the PMS list is basically we look at all your reservations in your software. In this case, we have Hostway collected, and every time there's a real email associated with any booking, we will add that information. If your if your PMS has a process by which they are soliciting emails from bookers, I know OwnerRes has that, for instance. Not everyone does. We will also make sure those are added. A lot of property management software don't have like a form for bookers to fill out in order to collect their emails, so that we offer that as well. So basically, what happens with pre-arrival is that we can send a message in advance of the stay to the booker, and then we will solicit the booker to fill out a form to provide their email. And after they fill out that form, we send them to the homepage. It looks kind of like this. And then the next screen will be the homepage at the end here. This is a great way to collect emails from bookers where we're not getting those emails from Airbnb or Vrbo. And you can send this form like multiple times. And you can like see down here, like you send this link, and this link is the link that triggers the pre-arrival form through your PMS messaging. And we can either send it basically through Hostaway or through your PMS for you, or you can like set it up in your pre-arrival messaging that you have set up in Hostaway, and we will like give you those links. And the instructions here are different for each PMS. So like if you want to collect through Hostaway, right, we have these merge fields and you just follow these instructions and you can like set up the messaging in Hostaway. So it's just one more way to collect more data from bookers, especially prior to the stay. But some property management software and some other tools will also do this for you. So it just kind of depends what you're using, if it makes sense. Um, Yes, Megan. So if you are using OwnerRes and you are using OwnerRes's form, like Booker form to collect emails, those emails will all be in your PMS guest list. And I think the pre-arrival form might be a little redundant if you're kind of collecting that information already through your PMS. So I always recommend, make sure you re-examine your whole guest messaging flow, so that you're sending, messages through your PMS that help build your brand, and then think about what makes sense to send after the guest arrives, and the idea that we're going to expand that communication with Wi-Fi marketing beyond the booker to the entire guest group. There are any other questions? Feel free to add them now. Yes, this is a great question that we just got. Someone asked, if we collect the email via the pre-arrival, is there a way to mitigate them having to send their email again when they check in? No, unfortunately not, because when that guest joins the Wi-Fi network from their phone, we don't know who owns the phone yet. So I don't know if that's your phone or someone else's phone or their laptop or someone else's laptop. So when the laptop joins, we're going to prompt for the email no matter what. Number one, I wouldn't be that worried about it for two reasons. One is I'm sure you've stayed at a hotel or where you booked a reservation with your email and then you got to the hotel and had to like fill out another form to access the internet again, right? So it's like not that weird. The other thing is we're giving the guests like multiple times to opt in. So maybe on the pre-arrival form they don't opt into your marketing. But then on the Wi-Fi side, for whatever reason, they do opt into your marketing, or it could be reversed. So, or they might give you a different email because maybe the email they give you when they log in on their computer is the email they use more, but for the pre-arrival form, for whatever reason, they used a different email. So you can think about it, we're going to collect hopefully a better email for a guest in this process, and we increase our likelihood of getting their opt-in in this process. So, uh, you know, now we go from one touch point to two. I don't think it's that onerous to collect their email 7 days in advance and they log into their phone when they arrive. Maybe we'll get a better email at that point. So, obviously the more times we have opportunity to collect the data, the higher likelihood we'll end up with higher quality data and an opt-in. Maybe they get to the home and they like love the home and they're like, oh, I do want to give them my email, right? So we can't really predict the behavior, but more opportunities, it's going to mean better quality data at the end of the day. Um, and I think sometimes we like think like, oh, am I being too spammy? I would say just in general, over communication in vacation rentals is always the way to go. Do not assume people read anything, share anything. I'm sure you've had this experience. You send all the information to the guests, they don't read any of it. They still ask you a million questions, right? So I would always err on the side of over communication, just in everything that we do here. Like even the pre-arrival messaging, send it 3 times because they're probably not going to look at it 2 times because they're busy. Or a lot of people are not going to think about the trip until like the day before. So just in general, um, that's why I tell people send at least 2 newsletters a month, right? Like e-commerce brands, if you sign up for clothing, they're sending an email every week or multiple a week, right? So there's a reason why hospitality brands, or if you are in Marriott, or join any email list for hotel, like they are aggressive and they're sending a lot of content. Our best performing email marketing customers are sending weekly at least, especially to certain segments. So don't be afraid of upping the frequency because your unsubscribe rate is not going to change that much and you will get better results. And just kind of do a little gut check in your own email inbox of brands and things that you subscribe to and kind of think how often are they sending, and then you'll realize that it's like not that weird or onerous on the guest side, at least, to getting multiple emails a month from you. So I would not worry about over communication or over marketing. You'd have to do a lot of emails to really drive up your unsubscribe rate or annoy people. Um, awesome. Well, thank you everybody for all of those wonderful questions. Definitely, if you need any help with email marketing, if you get stuck on the DNS part, which I know can be challenging, please email support@stayfi.com. And then if you're interested in email marketing services, you can also email support and they will just direct you to Autumn. So it's autumn.marks@stayfi.com. If you want to learn more, you can also just email her directly. And with that, I hope everybody has a lovely rest of the week. We will see you in 2 weeks. And then, of course, if you want to watch this again or watch any other content, please go to our YouTube channel, subscribe to our YouTube channel. That would be very helpful. And then you, of course, will get alerted every time that we do have new content. And also, we will be sending out our newsletter today for StayFi in general. And in it, we are featuring a very cool webinar coming up. We are doing a webinar with 4 website direct booking companies. So we're kind of having a little bit more of I want to call it like a competitive roundtable between 4 competitors in the direct booking website space to talk about all the latest developments when it comes to building websites and how these different services compare. So that's going to be a very exciting webinar, especially if you've been looking to upgrade or change your direct booking website. So that's going to be an awesome webinar I'm super excited about. So be on the lookout for our newsletter today, as we will include the link to register for that. Awesome. Thank you, everybody.